Good morning, Jordan Sheridan live. Status Coup. I hope everybody's having an okay morning on this Wednesday, September 7th, the year 2022. Colin, I have to do it. I have to do it. Hold on. Where is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I got to tell you, obviously I'm live much earlier today. Later at 5 o'clock Eastern, Kim Brown will be hosting, the host of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. So come back at 5 o'clock Eastern. We're also going to have Louis DeAngelis, who's on the ground for us in Jackson, Mississippi, covering the water crisis that the mainstream media has already stopped covering, naturally. So we'll have Louis on the ground from Mississippi a little bit later. So a lot going on Status Coup. Obviously, I wanted to come live because, you know, I got to tell you, I think Donald Trump, one of his legacies will be kind of numbing the masses to what's abnormal, meaning making things that maybe 10 years ago would be just unthinkable, kind of just numb the masses that it's just, oh, it's Trump, so be it. But the more that comes out about what the FBI found at Mar-a-Lago, I don't see any scenario whatsoever that Donald Trump at least is not prosecuted. We could get to whether he would be convicted a little bit later, but I don't see any scenario Donald Trump at this point is not prosecuted. As more information has come out, before I get to it, obviously, I want to stay consistent. So I've always said, don't automatically and by the way, smash the like button. We already got 170 people watching. We need every single person to press the like button. We're not normally live this early, so press that like button, share this live stream so we can get this to more people. As I've always said, don't automatically believe whatever you hear from the media, especially the corporate media. Don't automatically believe whatever you hear from the FBI, the CIA, U.S. intelligence, most of the military-industrial complex. Doesn't mean that they never tell the truth, but I would also say we have a lot of evidence throughout history that the FBI, CIA, and the U.S. defense apparatus routinely lies. So just because the Washington Post or anybody else reports something, don't automatically believe it. You have to look case by case and look critically. With that said, I have every reason to believe what the Washington Post reported last night, which is bombshell reporting. Credit to them on this. Colin, if we could pull up the Washington Post story. Headline, material on foreign nations' nuclear capabilities seized at Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Some seized documents were so closely held, only the president, a cabinet level or near cabinet level official, could authorize to know. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read some of it. A document describing foreign government's military defenses, including its nuclear capabilities, was found by FBI agents who searched former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence and private club last month, according to people familiar with the matter, underscoring concerns among U.S. intelligence officials about classified materials stashed in the Florida property. To be clear, this is the Department of Justice leaking to the Washington Post. If anybody doesn't realize that, it's either the DOJ or the FBI, one of the two, maybe both. That's clearly their sources. That's the only way they would know. So strategically, the DOJ or the FBI or both are leaking this information to the Washington Post. Some of the seized documents detail top secret U.S. operations so closely guarded that many senior national security officials are kept in the dark about them. Only the president, some members of his cabinet, or a near cabinet level official could authorize other government officials to know detail of these special access programs, according to people familiar with the search who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Documents about such highly classified operations require special clearance on a need-to-know basis, not just top-secret clearance. Some special access programs could have as few as a couple dozen government personnel authorized to know of an operation's existence. Records that deal with such programs are kept under lock and key, almost always in a secure, compartmented information facility with a designated control office to keep careful tabs on their locations. But such documents were stored at Mar-a-Lago with uncertain security more than 18 months after Trump left the White House. After months of trying, according to government court filings, the FBI has recovered more than 300 classified documents from Mar-a-Lago this year. We know all that. It was in this last batch of government secrets, the people familiar with the matter said that the information about a foreign government's nuclear defense readiness was found. These people did not identify the foreign government in question, say where at Mar-a-Lago the document was found, or offer additional details about one of the Justice Department's most sensitive national security investigations. My reading and based on one of the reporters that went on TV earlier today who broke this story is the Washington Post has, or at least believes, they know the country that Trump had nuclear docks sitting around. I don't know whether it was by the pool or the kitchen or, who knows? Melania's makeup table, who the hell knows? But I think the Washington Post at least believes they know who it is, but are not reporting it, because they, obviously you're not going to report that unless you know for sure, or you've seen the documents, or you could confirm it. Again, as a journalist, I could tell you this is a dance. The DOJ, the FBI are clearly leaking this information to the Washington Post. They've clearly leaked information to the New York Times as well. But they're not going to give everything because there's certain things you want to hold back for a potential prosecution. I have speculation. I don't know. It could be an ally, nuclear documents pertaining to an ally, but it could be nuclear documents pertaining to an enemy. You would pretty safely assume that if the Department of Justice and the FBI were tipped off, because obviously they were tipped off by somebody in Trump's universe, that there's nuke documents here, that would precipitate, we have to get a search warrant immediately and get in there. Obviously, it would be more urgent if it was an enemy, I would say. You wouldn't want an enemy to find out you know their nuclear programs or capabilities. It would be bad for an ally too. It would be bad either way. But the fact that Trump, it's not only that Trump had this, which, to be clear, any other person would be in jail probably for life if it was found out they had this. It's that when he returned documents in January, they returned 15 boxes in January of this year. He didn't return this. Then in June, when his lawyer certified, we've returned everything, they gave back more. He didn't return this. So basically, he withheld these documents intentionally. I can't blame it on the lawyers. And yeah, clearly, to sweet love, Jordan, that is genius level speculation. This is speculation. I mean, it's not speculations. I don't have any reason to believe the Washington Post is misreporting this because they're getting it for the DOJ and the FBI. And the DOJ and the FBI are obviously going to have to prove this if they're going to prosecute Trump. So that he had these documents, but it's either an enemy or an ally. My gut, it's probably an enemy, but that's speculation. Obviously, I don't have any information on that. So let's read a little bit more here and keep smashing that like button. We got 260 people watching, but only 138 have pressed that like button. So let's get more folks smashing that like button, share this live stream. Super chats are very appreciated. As you've seen, we're expanding, so we could use more funding. Super chats, sign up as a member, all that good stuff. We'll show you the schedule later. We have a couple new hosts. Obviously, we have Lewis on the ground right now in Mississippi. All this costs money to cover the Jackson water crisis, to cover labor. We covered the Labor Day rally in New York City the other day. All this costs money, and we don't have any corporate fat cats giving us money. So appreciate any love in the super chat. It was in the last batch of government secrets, the people familiar with the matter said that the information about a foreign government's nuclear defense readiness was found. These people did not identify the foreign government in question, say where the Mar-a-Lago document was found, or offer additional detail about one of the Justice Department's most sensitive national security investigations. Christopher Keiss, a lawyer for Trump, decried leaks about the case, which he said, quote, continue with no respect for the process, nor any regard for the real truth. This does not serve well the interests of justice. Quote, moreover, the damage to public confidence in the integrity of the system simply cannot be underestimated. The responsible course of actions here would be for anyone in the government to exercise leadership and control. The court has provided a sensible path forward, which does not include the selective leak of unverifiable and misleading information. There's no reason to deviate from the path if the goal is, as it should be, to find a rational solution. And they're referring, the court has provided a sensible path forward to a judge that Trump appointed, by all accounts, in an absurd ruling that Trump should get preferential treatment because he was the president beyond any normal citizen, and a special magistrate should be appointed to go through all these documents to see if there's anything that is subject to executive privilege or attorney-client privilege, despite the fact that classified documents belong to the government, not the former president. And this is someone who Trump appointed, and by the way, is on the short list to become a Supreme Court justice if an opening came where a conservative judge died and you had a conservative president. This judge that just approved the special magistrate is on the short list and was appointed by Trump. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence is conducting a risk assessment to determine how much potential harm was posed by the removal from government custody of hundreds of classified documents. All right. Now, this came out last night. Let's play the clip of Trump's lawyer yesterday morning. So literally just a little earlier in the day, what she had to say pertaining to nuclear secrets.
I saw this meme that was very funny on Instagram, I believe it was, and it said it's amazing. At first, it was the codes to the nuclear weapons. Right. Now it's invisible classified documents. It could mean anything. I don't know. It could mean that they gave those documents to NARA and to the FBI prior, as we know, which they had done. It could mean there was nothing in them. It could mean they're invisible if you're, in their administration. I truly don't know.
So, poo-poo to any nuclear documents. All these Republicans, well, it's not like he had the nuclear codes. Well, I think we don't know what he had. But whether he had the nuclear codes, whether he had documents about Iran's nuclear programs, North Korea nuclear programs, Israel nuclear programs, Britain, I mean, we could go down the list. Not even current government officials. Only certain cabinet level officials would have access to that. Most military people would not have access to that. This is the kind of documents that you have to come to a special safe room to read. And he had it lying around Mar-a-Lago. So this whole, it's not like, Fox News, Hillary Clinton had a private server and some classified stuff on it, lock her up, throw away the key. This, it's not like he had nuclear codes. Well, that didn't age well. And by the way, let's remember, this is from Politico. Right after the raid, Trump denies reports of classified nuclear documents at Mar-a-Lago. Trump on Friday also echoed baseless assertions from Republicans in the days following the search that the FBI is biased against him. Former President Donald Trump on Friday denied reports that he was in possession of classified documents relating to nuclear weapons that FBI agents reportedly sought when they searched his Florida residence. Quote, nuclear weapons issue is a hoax, just like Russia was a hoax, 2 impeachment were a hoax, the Mueller investigation was a hoax, and much more. So Trump's lawyer, as of yesterday, nuclear schmooklear. Trump, it's all a hoax. Well, again, I'm a firm believer, don't automatically believe what comes from the FBI, the CIA, especially the CIA. But again, this is being leaked to the Washington Post by the Department of Justice and the FBI. My feeling, they're leaking it because a special magistrate was just appointed, which is good, which is going to delay. It's not only there's multiple things here. It's not only that they're pursuing a criminal investigation into Trump. Now there has to be clearly a side investigation into who came in and out of Mar-a-Lago, who was around these particular documents, nuclear documents, that pertained either to an ally's nuclear programs or an enemy's nuclear programs. Were these documents about nukes or nuclear programs, were they moved? Because we know certain documents were moved at Mar-a-Lago. Trump's lawyer said, no, it was always in this centralized storage location. Well, they found, I think it was 27 classified documents in his office. So there's parallel problems here and parallel investigations. One is investigating Trump, his lawyers, and the other is who the hell was coming in and out of Trump's country club and what was their proximity to these documents. I'm definitely sure that they're fingerprinting the documents to see who touched these documents. So, you know how like with COVID, it's like contact tracing, which is impossible really to really do in major cities like New York City effectively. I mean, this is basically contact tracing for nuclear documents. So, and let me show this tweet. Wajahat Ali basically says what I just said. DOJ was probably sitting on this explosive news of nuclear secret documents and knew that this corrupt MAGA judge would give Trump his special master and help with his shameless delay tactics. Next day, boom, this bombshell. Smart. So again, I mean, it's clearly Trump's lawyers are technically correct. This stuff is clearly being leaked. And I think it was right to leak this, frankly, because this appointment of a special master, they haven't selected who it is, but a judge has approved it, is just going to delay things. And the judge has said that until this special master is appointed and whatnot, that the DOJ cannot use any of these documents in terms of a criminal prosecution. So, you know, it's possible that this judge, who seems to be a Trump crony, was appointed by Trump when he was president, is on the short list to be a Supreme Court justice, very likely didn't know this information about these documents that were found. Whether or not that will affect the ruling, I have no idea. So I want to play a clip. This was the former defense secretary, William Cohen, on, I think it was CNN or MSNBC, I don't know, this morning on this.
And so what is your reaction when you just hear the details, the list of the hundreds of classified documents, the latest reporting from the Washington Post that Donald Trump, now a private citizen out of office, had all this at his beach resort in Florida?
I think you've been asking the question, why? I don't think it matters why. The fact that he had those documents in his possession is offense enough. Subject to perhaps criminal prosecution. If I had had those in my house after leaving office, I would be in handcuffs by this time. And so I think the Justice Department has gone out of its way to show deference to the former president that no other president in the history would have behaved in this fashion or had behaved in this fashion. So I think the Justice Department is going about it very methodically, very deferentially. I think that time has come to an end. I go back to the January 6th committee, where it was Judge, I think his name was Luttig, a very conservative judge. He said that Donald Trump was a clear and present danger to democracy. That is confirmed over and over by these revelations. The notion that the former president had documents, highly classified documents in his possession in unsafe circumstances or any circumstances, puts our nation at risk, potentially. So I think there's no justification. There's no way they can say, oh, it was a mistake. I think that's been disproved. And anyone who says that, I think, is flat out lying.
Gotta love the baby tiger, I think, was behind him in a portrait. He's right about a few things there. But number one, I don't know any other person that would not be prosecuted by now. I really don't. I think that Merrick Garland is a wimp, frankly, the attorney general. Most people didn't expect him to go do anything really about Trump. But I think the Department of Justice, the FBI are very concerned because clearly when it comes to Trump, I mean, he's basically egging on political violence. So are his allies at Fox News and right-wing media, YouTube, Breitbart. Bannon just came out that Bannon is now going to be indicted for a second time for a scam, build a wall donations that he did, that he basically scammed people to donate millions of dollars to finish building the wall. And then he took the money. So he's going to be surrendering himself tomorrow. Trump pardoned him for that federally, but that doesn't apply to states. So it seems that he's going to be prosecuted in the state of New York for that. Reports are he's going to surrender himself tomorrow. But I think there's multiple things here. And why I think that what's really important is it's not just the fact that he took this stuff. Take that out of it. It's the fact that the why he took this stuff. And it's also the fact of multiple times, not one time, multiple times, his lawyers returned documents describing it as this is everything, right? So if you're returning the documents, they returned 15 boxes in January, and then they returned more in June. And in June, the lawyers certified that this is it. This is everything. So it's very hard for Trump to have as a defense, well, I depended on my lawyers to go through everything, et cetera, et cetera. I don't really know many lawyers that would be like, let's keep the nuclear docs here. And let's keep, all this heavy duty shit here. And then you get down to the informants. The informants were probably the people that tipped off to the FBI or the Department of Justice. Could be Trump's lawyers, could be Secret Service. Secret Service legally has a duty to report crimes. But I think Trump's in a world of danger because putting aside whether you like Trump or not, my feelings are not hidden. Throughout history, they're typically wealthy white men generally get away with pretty much anything. And if they are held accountable, it's usually kind of the bed and breakfast version of being held accountable. Epstein, before he killed himself, he was in jail, but allowed out of prison every day to go work at his office, where he had women come and give him massages in his office while he was technically in prison. He was basically in his office half the day while a prisoner. And then, when he was arrested, he killed himself. Ghislaine Maxwell has already been moved to a less high maximum security prison. The farmer bro, Martin Scarelli, who, price gouged everyone on EpiPens by whatever it was, an insane amount. He was in prison, I think, for only 3 years, 4 years. I could go down the list of wealthy white men who have gotten away with murder. But that doesn't really apply when you get on the wrong side of the CIA and the FBI. For you history buffs, go ask John F. Kennedy or the Kennedys. When you get on the wrong side of the CIA, the FBI, the generals, the whole military industrial complex, it really doesn't matter who you are. White, black, glow in the dark, you're in trouble. And I give you Julian Assange as an example. And by the way, smash that like button. We got 340 people watching, but only 215 have pressed the like button. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. Obama, to his credit, didn't go after Julian Assange, saying, well, if we go after him, we'd have to go after the New York Times, the Washington Post, and similar outlets that have published classified material. Donald Trump, it comes out, Donald Trump, although he called everyone else a puppet, he was just a puppet for the CIA and the FBI. And the CIA and the FBI were plotting to kidnap and assassinate Julian Assange. And, you know, they got to do what they wanted because they hated Julian Assange for exposing their war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. So Julian Assange continues to rot as a political prisoner in the United Kingdom and will eventually be a prisoner here in America, or will die in prison before that. Sadly, he should be freed. But again, once a Trump-type president who doesn't care about rule of law at all came in, the CIA and FBI got their vengeance. What do you think the CIA and FBI are thinking right now? The generals, the Pentagon, everyone, NSA, every agency, down to the Coast Guard, are thinking about Donald Trump right now. He took highly classified documents that even most cabinet officials would not have access to. Do you think he's going to get away with that? First of all, you'd have a revolt within the military-industrial complex. And secondly, how would the Department of Justice, the FBI, have any credibility if at the end of this whole thing, they said, well, you know, this was really just a transparency exercise. We just wanted the American people to know what was taken. This is a lesson for the next president. Don't jack classified documents, but, you know, Trump, we're not going to prosecute him. I don't buy that for a second. I don't buy that for a second. I want to go through a couple tweets here, just of reactions from kind of legal experts and others. This is from Angry Staffer. Seriously, there are only two options here. Number one, these documents relate to an enemy's missile defense and nuclear capabilities. If that gets out, a good hostile intelligence agency would almost certainly be able to figure out at least some of our sources and methods. Followed by number two, these relate to an ally. I don't even need to explain how much of a shit show that would be. In either scenario, there's no non-nefarious reason for Trump to have hidden this material from investigators. And that's the word. That's what I've been saying. He hid these materials. It's not only that he took them, he lied to the FBI and the DOJ, whether it's his lawyers or him directly. His lawyers are representing him. So it's not a defense that, well, I don't know what the documents were. The movers put them. Yeah, the movers just found classified documents about nukes, threw them in boxes, and took them to Mar-a-Lago. You never saw them. No. He hid these documents. And then you get to, again, speculation. Why would he want to keep these documents? Do you put it past Donald Trump to try and use these documents for personal gain? Do you put it past Donald Trump? He's got 4 or 5 different investigations into him right now. You got the Southern District of New York. You have the Attorney General of New York. You have the state of Georgia. You have the Department of Justice related to January 6th. You put it past Donald Trump that he wouldn't say, you know, guys and gals, you know, I might have some information that would be very bad for the United States. I don't know how it got here, but I might have this information. It would be a really bad thing if I was prosecuted. I wouldn't want this information to get into the wrong hands. I'm not like a conspiracy theorist, Russiagator. I called Russiagate bullshit from the start. There was no evidence that Trump colluded with the Russian government. There was no evidence that Donald Trump's campaign was even competent enough to collude with anyone. But there is evidence that Donald Trump is a grade A scoundrel. There is evidence that in the 1980s, 90s, 2000s, he committed money laundering, tax fraud, inflated his assets. So to think that he wouldn't use these documents for personal gain, I don't think so. Let's go through Marco Rubio went on Fox News today. Surprisingly, Steve Doocy of Fox and Friends has been pretty critical of Trump. So Steve Doocy made the point, why would the president have nuclear docs just kind of lying around? Marco Rubio, Profile in Courage. Let's hear what he had to say.
When we first heard about this stuff, and we heard, well, maybe it's things like a note from Kim Jong-un to President Trump that he wanted to keep his hands on. But then, if true, this Washington Post report, highly classified documents at Mar-a-Lago that only a cabinet-level officer or higher could even look at, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing you should have in your post-presidential desk drawer.
Well, let's break this down. First of all, again, we really don't know, because let's go back and understand that all of this information is coming from one side and one place, and that is sources with knowledge of the investigation. Well, who are the sources with knowledge of the investigation? The FBI and the Justice Department, and they are leaking to the media.
So it's just priceless. It's really priceless. Colin, come on for a second. Colin, listen. We're no fans of Barack Obama here, President Obama. We're not fans of Biden. We're very critical of him. But what do you think the response would be on Fox and Friends or Marco Rubio if Obama had in his Chicago office documents about a foreign country's nuclear programs? What do you think the response would be? Hell, you're in Texas. What do you think the response would be among the Texas Republican crowd?
Obviously, it'd be that same one of like, hey guys, calm down. Let's just wait for all the facts to come out. Definitely. like we've seen like what similar circumstances and their freakouts over fake scandals or exaggerated scandals and stuff like that. So to see like such calm demeanor over this is so weird when, like you said, if you switch that name out and they have that same calm demeanor about it, it'd be almost jarring.
No, it would be apocalyptic. I mean, I think they'd be calling for Obama, no trial, put him in solitary confinement. He's a traitor. I mean, some of them would be saying, did he give it, is he working with the Arabs? Because we know Trump in particular with the birther stuff. I mean, it's just obscene, the hypocrisy. And by the way, from supposed leftists who suddenly over the year or two seem to be kind of winking and nodding at the right wing. No big deal. Whatevs, just nukes. It's just nuclear information, whatevs. And I'm not even a fan of Obama, but let's call a spade a spade. They would be calling for lifetime imprisonment, possibly the death penalty. Possibly the death penalty. Colin, let's show this tweet. This is from somebody who used to work in the U.S. government on nuclear issues, John B. Wolfthal. I worked in the U.S. government on nuclear weapon issues for 11 years. If anyone I worked with or I took any of these documents home, we would be in prison. Trump must be indicted or the entire classification system will be at risk. Again, I don't know anyone who would get away with this. I think the Department of Justice has been too diplomatic as well as the FBI. This tweet from Ryan Goodman, former special counsel at the Department of Defense. He's pointing out that this story hugely important for prosecution of the Espionage Act. Many people are behind bars for far, far less. So when looking at why the search warrant and the crimes they're saying that Trump committed were the Espionage Act, which, by the way, has been abused basically since the beginning. They're charging Julian Assange absurdly under the Espionage Act. I think this is what they were. This is part of the basis of that, for sure. This one from Mark Hertling, who is definitely a leader of the military-industrial complex. CNN has him on all the time, former soldier. Note, this is just the beginning, and it's going to get much, much worse. Special access programs, SAP, top secret, special classification, some of our most closely guarded secrets. Yeah, this is more than a storage problem. Marco Rubio, he says. Andrew Weissman, who was a lawyer at the Department of Justice for 20 years. Holy crap. Cannon, speaking about the judge that approved Trump's special master, Cannon's decision interferes with exec branch ability to track who had access to this information, as criminal and national security officials are both needed to investigate this. Material on foreign nations' nuclear capabilities seized at Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. This is bad. This is bad. And to tell you the truth, I don't think this is it. I think the DOJ and the FBI have a lot more. Clearly they know who the foreign country is. I don't know if that part's going to get out. And I think there's probably worse documents that Donald Trump had at Mar-a-Lago. And the problem now, you can't really separate politics and this criminal investigation, because the problem now is not that it becomes harder to prosecute him if he's formally announced that he's running for president. You could still prosecute him. But if Trump announces, and I think it's possible he announces and just tells the Republican Party to go fuck themselves, because he clearly doesn't care about the Republican Party. Republican Party does not want him to announce before the midterms. There's evidence in the polling already that Trump is hurting them. The Democrats aren't really running on anything economically because they haven't done much economically for anyone. They're running on the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, and they're running on, the danger of MAGA and whatnot. And from all appearances and reports, there's been a real surge in registration among women voters because of the Supreme Court's horrible decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. But it would set up a pretty unprecedented situation if Trump announces he's running for president and you then prosecute him. I think there would be violence either way, because we see kind of the mood of the Republican Party is heading towards political violence. But if he's formally announced, I don't want to use, very intense terms like civil war and those kind of things, but it's not going to be a good situation if he has announced he's running for president. He's going around the country, rousing up his cult members, and then he's prosecuted. But at the end of the day, this just kind of, listen, both political parties are corrupt. We live in the United Corporations of America. This kind of just, it's not anything you didn't know already, but this just kind of exposes the theater of it all. The total emptiness of the Republican Party, of right-wing media, that there is no core principles. They never cared about the sanctity of classified documents or government records. they didn't care about what Hillary Clinton did. They just wanted Hillary Clinton gone. And by the way, I think Hillary Clinton should have been indicted, because if I had a private server and classified information on it, I'd be in prison. So would you. So it's not just wealthy white men that get away with it. It's wealthy white women who get away with it. But I think even the Republican Party and Fox News, at a certain point, you're just going to run out of spin. I mean, how do you spin this, really? What is Fox News going to do? What is Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro and Tim Pool and Steve Bannon and Roger Stone? I mean, what is your spin going to be? Is the new Republican Party line? And nuclear codes, nuclear programs, whatevs. Russia hoax. You know, so what? He took a couple nuclear programs at home to read. Maybe he needed them as source material for his memoir. Come on. So we'll see, but I do not think there's any scenario at this point that he's not prosecuted. Now, convicting him, a whole nother can of worms. I think, unfortunately, there is going to be a different standard because he was a former president. I think he's clearly been given a lot of deference, but he's going to be prosecuted. I don't even know how do you prosecute anyone else for similar things if you didn't prosecute him? Hell, they prosecuted Chelsea Manning. They prosecuted Julian Assange. They prosecuted Edward Snowden for far less. And by the way, we haven't even gotten to, and to be clear to any right-wingers in the chat right now. And by the way, 360 people watching. Smash that like button. Super chats are welcome. I'll read them in a few minutes. We haven't even gotten to the point. There was a spike in U.S. spies that were killed last year, meaning their cover was blown. There was a spike last year. This came out in October of 2021 of U.S. spies that had been killed. Donald Trump left the White House in January 2021 after trying to overthrow the government. And they found at Mar-a-Lago not only these nuclear programs, docs, they found documents that had information about human sources, spies. So to be clear, we can't, connect dots that we just don't know. But we do know that there were more spies last year that had their cover blown and were killed. So the FBI and the DOJ right now are basically scrambling on multiple things. Number one, who was coming in and out of Mar-a-Lago? I don't know. Do they have a visitor log down there? Who the hell knows? By previous reports, security was kind of lax. At one point, a Russian woman got in who sold herself as something else. Not that there's anything wrong with Russians visiting a country club, but a Russian national or something like that. So they have to figure out who was in and out of there, where were they, what rooms were they in. They also have to figure out where were these documents. Were they in the storage area? Were they moved to Trump's room? If they were moved, when were they moved? If they were moved, and we find out when they were moved, who was in and out of those areas, we need to fingerprint these documents. And then you have to figure out, as far as human sources, who had access to areas where those documents were. Because it's not only damage that has been done, it's we need to figure out if there's more damage that could be done. I mean, honestly, you probably could not even, like, I don't know many filmmakers who could come up with a plot like this. And there's been some pretty terrible espionage thrillers out there. Colin, if we could make a poll at this point, I don't want to ask whether Donald Trump will be prosecuted. Actually, yeah, let's ask first, do you think Donald Trump will be prosecuted? My guess at this point, I think we got almost 400 people watching. I think we'll probably have 75 to 80% who say yes, Donald Trump will be prosecuted. It'll be less for convicted, but I want to see what the people think. So the poll is up. Do you think he'll be prosecuted? I'm thinking 75 to 80% will say yes. So let's give people a chance to read that, to answer the poll. All right. Got 50 votes so far. Wow. I'm very surprised. I thought it would be a lot more saying yes. So right now, 58% say yes. 42% say no. I got to tell you, for the people that say no, I understand your cynicism. We do live in the United Corporations of America. They call him Teflon Don for a reason. But I don't really know how the Department of Justice or the FBI at this point, I don't know how you could have any credibility if you don't prosecute him. Because if you don't prosecute him, the reasons for giving it, the reasons given would have to be, we do not have evidence that he knew these documents were there. We don't have evidence that he dealt with these documents. We don't have evidence that he was aware that his lawyers were telling the FBI and the Department of Justice that we gave everything back. All of that, it literally is unbelievable. It's not believable. And reports indicate that Trump, a Department of Justice lawyer and FBI agents came down in June and met with Trump's lawyers and asked to view what was in the boxes in the storage area, and Trump's lawyers blocked them from doing so. Trump stopped by at that meeting. So if you're not going to prosecute him, when Comey said we're not going to prosecute Hillary Clinton, it was because the reason given was there's not strong enough evidence that this was intentional. So it was really the intent, they said, wasn't there, which is bullshit, because it doesn't really matter. If I had a private server as a Secretary of State and classified emails were found on there, it wouldn't matter whether it was an accident or not. They'd throw away the key if it were me or it were you. Hillary should be in prison, in my view. Hunter Biden also should be prosecuted. So this is not like, let's just call out Republicans. Hillary, gone. Hunter Biden, throw away the key. How about Jamie Dimon, all the fucking criminal Wall Street bankers that tanked the global economy over a decade ago? Millions of people lost their homes. Millions of people still haven't recovered, even though the media says, oh, we recovered from the financial crash. Yeah, bullshit. All right, we got 111 votes. Right now it's 61% say yes, 39% say no. I cannot envision them not prosecuting him for this. Because obviously, this would be literally the most historic case of rogue lawyers in history of mankind. If the lawyers had no communication with Trump about this, if Trump didn't know that his lawyer was certifying that we had returned everything. And by the way, ball game over. Ball game over if they find Donald Trump's fingerprints on these documents. Because if Donald Trump's fingerprints are on these documents, he clearly knew he had them. He clearly dealt with them, physically touched them, and then God knows what he was doing with them. And to right-wingers in the audience, God love you, even if we don't agree on all things. Just take your cult worship of Donald Trump off for a second. And to leftists who hate Donald Trump, just Take it all away. And I just want you to look at it just open-mindedly, not in a partisan way. If you're a right-winger, would you be making the same excuses that you're making right now for Leader Trump, your fearless leader, if this were a Democrat? No, you would not. Let me read some super chats. Double K, 1999. Yeah, Colin. Thank you, Double K. Jan B, 499. With the judge ruling on Monday, I don't think anything is going to happen. I so hope I'm wrong. I'm glad you brought that up. So for people that don't know, a judge ruled, a Trump-appointed judge, who, by the way, is on the short list to be the next Supreme Court justice if there is a vacancy and a Republican is president, if one of these Republicans die or something. I think that the Department of Justice is going to appeal that ruling at this point, the special master ruling. And I'm not a legal expert. I think it's highly likely they would win because based on listening to legal experts, this judge basically made it up as she went along in this ruling and gave special privileges and allowances to Donald Trump that are not actually supported by law. Just basically saying he was the former president, so we should give extra privileges to him. Secondly, I'm not a lawyer, but I have read into this. Executive privilege does not apply to government documents that belong to the government and not the former president. So I actually don't think that this is going to be delayed too much, and I think the DOJ will appeal, and I think it will be expedited to listen to this appeal. This is not going to drag out for 2 years as far as the special master or whatnot, in my opinion. Chris, $2. What percentage chance for the CIA Epstein option? He's 76. Well, I got to tell you, I think there's a stronger chance of me developing a six-pack by Thanksgiving than Donald Trump ever letting himself go get locked up behind bars. So I don't want to say too much, but I don't think Donald Trump would allow that, if you know what I mean. He would take actions to make sure that doesn't happen. The concept of the rule of law is biggest joke of all. Oh, yeah. I've said forever, listen, we got 3 justice systems in this country. The first justice system is for wealthy white people. The second justice system is for whatever's left of the middle class, but kind of the working class, mostly white people. And the third justice system is for black people, brown people, and indigenous people. So you got 3 justice systems. Obviously, the first one works for people if you have money, power, and class. So, I think I covered it all. Obviously, if something new breaks pertaining to this, we'll cover it. You know, we're not a channel that has covered Trump endlessly for 5 years. I'm covering this because I kind of think it's important when a former president who might become the next president jacks a bunch of classified material at his country club. Who the fuck knows what he did with it? I don't think that should be normalized. I do think that's a big news story. I think there's evidence for it rather than grand speculation. I don't think the DOJ is just making this shit up. So we're going to continue covering it. Please support this channel. Before we go, for those that are new to the channel, we are currently on the ground. We are currently on the ground covering the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi. Predictably, the media has already started leaving because they like mass shootings. They cover, a city having poison water, maybe for a few days, and then leave. And then it gets lost. PR bullshit comes out that the water's fine again, and the people suffer. So Louis DeAngelis is on the ground for us down there. He came live yesterday on our live stream. He'll be live again at 5 o'clock Eastern when Kim Brown is hosting, reporting updates from down there. Let's play a clip from some of Lewis's reporting yesterday.
That this is a systemic justice issue here and a racial justice issue here. Environmental justice is racial justice. This city of Jackson is 80+% Black. Our state legislature, our state leaders are majority white. All of our elected state officials are white. They've known about this issue for years, for decades. We've known that the infrastructure here in Jackson is crumbling, and we have so many state buildings that are not being taxed, and we have so many. I guess there has been so much effort in the legislature from legislators here in this area, in the Jackson and Hines area, and even elected officials here in the city who have tried to get assistance from the state for years, and we haven't gotten the assistance that we needed from the state. The state knows about this billion-dollar issue that we have here, and they have continued to ignore it. Jackson is a majority Black city. You cannot tell me that it is not because Jackson is a majority Black city, and they have divested from the city of Jackson and put those resources that could have gone to fixing the infrastructure of our biggest city in the state, but instead those resources and that attention has been given to the bedroom communities that are majority white, that have been the places of refuge for the white people who were once living in Jackson. So yeah, it is systemic racism. It is white flight. They have divested from the city of Jackson and ignored those issues, and now that is getting national and international attention. Now we want to try in and come in and swoop and get something done. Grateful that is happening, but it sucks that it's been this many years.
Yeah, and even some of the response. I mean, I saw an interview with the White House press secretary yesterday. She was asked, like, the White House is saying that the governor needs to do more. Like, what specifically should the governor be doing? And the response was, well, we just gave $75 million for clean water initiatives in Mississippi. And also in the infrastructure bill, there was $400 million for Mississippi that's going to be given over the next 10 years. And I'm like, okay, so that's $75 million plus $40 million coming this year for a $1 billion problem, like you said. Like, pretending that that's going to fix it is insane. And and even at the state level, Mississippi will get funding, and then Jackson does not get proportionally what it should based on the population that's here. You mentioned it's the largest city. Yeah. It's 2022, United States of America, the largest city in Mississippi doesn't have clean drinking water, and it's like a great moment that you have water pressure.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the issue is much larger than the small pennies that we have been receiving from the state, and that I've even heard that have been mentioned from local and state and federal officials. We all know that the issue is much larger. So hopefully that the resources come in and that we need to actually fix this. Hopefully this is not just a moment in time where we're in the national headlines now. Let's all try to come together. Let's do some tours. Let's talk about these plans. And then a week from now, once things have sizzled down, then there's no more action. But there needs to continue to be action.
So that's Louis DeAngelis. Definitely follow him on Twitter. He's going to be down there all week for us. I just put his link in the super chat. This is, to me, deja vu of Flint. Frankly, the media doesn't give a flying fuck. They go down there for a few days to check the box that we covered it, and then they leave. Louis told us yesterday, at most of these water sites, he's the only journalist there now. Literally, this has been going on, the acute situation, for only a week, and the media has already left. What do you think happens when the media leaves? Then the governor, who has vetoed over and over money to go to Jackson, which is 82% Black and has a 25% poverty rate. The governor has vetoed bills that would provide money for infrastructure to Jackson. It's over $1 billion to replace this outdated infrastructure that's feeding them poisoned water. The governor has vetoed money to go towards Jackson's hospitals. The governor has vetoed money that would go towards parks in Jackson, a golf course in Jackson. But in his budget, he gave money for parks and golf courses in wealthier white suburbs. Look at that. This governor last year, when there was a similar water problem in Jackson, said to the people of Jackson, maybe you should pay your water bills before asking the state for help. This is not environmental racism. This is racism straight up. And I'm tired of hearing people, oh, Jordan, it's class. It's not race. They're intertwined. Class and race are connected. These people that try to make it one or the other, bullshit. I can tell you, I've been around the country. This kind of shit, not generally happening where a lot of white people live, even if it's not wealthy white people and just lower class white people. So we're going to continue covering it. It's not a sexy story. YouTube doesn't make covering a water crisis go viral. Other more sensational type stuff, clickbaity stuff goes viral, but we're covering it because it matters. Water is life. You can't go that far without clean water. And I've been seeing for years, as I continue covering the Flint water crisis and cover up, which I'm working on a book now, the effects when the media abandons a story, it's abandoning the people who were poisoned. And the media helps the politicians leave them to slowly die, because more and more people in Flint that I know are dying. So we're going to continue covering this. If you're new here, consider signing up as a Status Coup member. Money don't grow on trees. We don't have any money from special interests, big corporations funding us. Our funding comes from you. So sign up if you can, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. You might think it doesn't add up. It does add up. This is how we fund Lewis there. This is how we fund other reporting. We had Ty covering the Labor Day rally the other day in Times Square. That's up on the channel. If we could show, we now have new hosts and new shows on Status Coup. We obviously are paying folks. Today, 5 o'clock, will be Kim Brown holding it down. She has a show called Burn It Down with Kim Brown, but she's hosting on Wednesdays for us. Thursdays are going to be Ron Placone and Tina co-hosting at 5. And then at 6, Tina's solo for the right-wing insanity report. Fridays will be me and somebody for happy hour and haters. And Sunday is Steve Grumbine with Let's Get Ready to Grumble. We also have a weekly series with Spencer Snyder called Breaking News. Emphasis on breaking, since the country and the media are breaking and broken, and obviously the on-the-ground reporting. So we're trying to expand, trying to get a little more organized here. So support us if you can. I know, not everyone has even an extra $5 a month, but if you do, it's going to support on-the-ground reporting on stories that matter rather than sensational bullshit. And shout out, we got a new member. Let me make sure I shout her out. Yesterday, new member Glenda and Crystal. So 2 new members yesterday. Please sign up today. Support this on-the-ground reporting. And we got some other things in the works too. Really appreciate all your support. Again, we'll be live again at 5 o'clock Eastern with Kim Brown. Lewis will be joining Kim from Jackson, Mississippi for another update on the water crisis there. Spread the word. Tell people to subscribe to this channel and support us if you can. statuscoup.com/join. We will see you back here at 5 o'clock Eastern with Kim Brown. And then after Kim's show, we're going to air some of Lewis's reporting from Jackson, Mississippi. Share these streams and we'll see you later. Have a good one.